Welcome back to the Worldbuilding Shrimp. Let's talk about a monster. I have 2 sea monster ideas today. As a basis, I wanted to do a sea monster with an anglerfish type lure in the shape of a mermaid. But in Halloween, they're called Neritzi. I didn't know which direction to go in for the body. I played with fish, serpents, and even something like a seahorse body plan. When I sat down and looked for inspiration once again, I stumbled upon some images of a pretty blue sea slug. And that was perfect. The first monster for today is called the lure slug. They live in the depths of the freshwater ocean, an enormous creature that prefers to sit and wait rather than hunt. They use a lure designed not only to attract Neritzi, but to attract those that also want to eat Neritzi. Their lures rely on Minnow magic, which is short for Manuvrian magic. If you haven't watched the elves or dwarves redesign videos, Minnow magic is related to shapeshifting and mind magic. In previous videos, I had called this mind Newman, and in the future I probably will again. Newman and magic are synonymous in my world. The lure slugs can shift their lure into something that is more enticing to their prey. A useful technique is mirroring the same species they are trying to eat. It attracts animals that may be interested in mating, fighting for territory, or schooling. It also reduces caution when viewing an animal of the same species. It can also mimic things such as plants or groups of smaller animals that their prey would like to eat. In this way, lure slugs can catch a wide variety of things as they grow in size. But their size isn't much of a deterrent in what they can eat. As long as it can fit through their very stretchy mouths, the prey will enter into an ecoche. The ecoche is a portal in their throats that they can open and close at will, that leads to their own personal pocket of etherin. This portal, called a fold, can cut through anything that isn't specifically warded against it. By opening and closing the fold, these pockets chop their prey into pieces as it passes through. Part of their prey will enter their stomach, while the rest is held inside the ecoche. This lets them digest it piece by piece, thus allowing them to eat things bigger than their stomach could otherwise handle. Which means even smaller slugs can, and do, eat Neritzi. Why would an intelligent being like a Neritzi ever fall for their lure? The human-souled have always fallen prey to curiosity, and the lure slugs are experts at inspiring it. So why does it work? The lure slugs settle themselves in dark areas, shadowed corners. They make themselves unseen and offer up their lures in whatever shape will net them their next meal. They can go a long time between meals, and this allows them to be very patient ambush predators. If you saw a fellow Neritzi in the dark, would you be intrigued? What are they doing out there? What if it was waving at you? What if you saw a Neritzi child? Would you approach? What if that child was crying? What if it spoke? What if it said, "Help me"? Only the oldest of the lure slugs have mastered the ability to mimic speech, but the rarity makes it all the more effective. However, there are many ways to avoid becoming prey to curiosity. The most important thing is to not get any closer. If you have mind magic, you can tell whether or not that Neritzi is real. It is part of a living creature, so it will glow in the mind field, but not nearly as strong as it should. And you can locate the lure slug hiding nearby. You could call out to the Neritzi, and if it does not reply, do not approach. If it does reply, ask it specific questions. Even when a lure slug can mimic speech, it doesn't know what it is saying, and the answers will be nonsensical. If determined that the Neritzi is just a lure, swim away. The slugs do not chase. If inside a territory, report the sighting immediately. So, that is our first monster. What do you think? I welcome you to come up with scary scenarios involving a lure slug and comment them below. Please, it would be very cool to read your ideas. Next, we have the cave angler. I'm not sure what this one looks like yet, but I really like the concept. These monsters live in underground water environments, in lakes and rivers found primarily on the void side of Halloween. They lurk amidst the winding tunnels and vast pockets. The cave angler is less intelligent than the lure slug, but far more proactive when it comes to finding food. If they find themselves in prey-scarce waters, they will crawl onto land. I am very happy with both scenarios I have come up with. First, a cave angler crawling out into a quiet, dark tunnel, searching for anything that could be within it, holding their lit lure around a corner to draw in anything that might find their light. Curious. What is the deal with living things' fascination with lights? I wonder. A lone traveler traversing the tunnels, or a miner who is separated from their group. They would make for a good, hearty meal. The other scenario is the cave angler living in an underground lake, bordered by a cave ecosystem. They are capable of hiding in the shallow shores, lifting their lure out of the water, then ambushing prey like a crocodile. It's very reminiscent of the success that crocodiles have, since cave lakes are often the only reliable source of water for the ecosystem, so animals will always have to return to the water's edge. They can also pull themselves gracelessly out onto land, using strong but unsuited fins to shimmy into gaps between trees, seeking out meals rather than waiting for it to come to them. Once they find their prey, they cast their lure away from themselves and tempt whatever they can close enough to strike. Failing that, it'll do its best to pursue and catch its target, whatever it takes. Still, it's not terribly efficient at moving on land. I imagine a bit like the combination of a mudskipper fish and a seal. It'd be terrifying to be chased by something like that. I don't know why I love creating things that I would personally be terrified of. That's all I have for this angler monster video. Remember not to be too hard on yourself. Sometimes it stops you from trying at all.